All right. I appreciate you for doing this, Pel NYC.
Yep,
Why don't
yep,
you let
yep.
the listeners know maybe like just a little bit of background? What do you do, who you are, and we'll take it from there.
Uh, my name is Pel. My Instagram handle is Pel NYC, and I have another Instagram called The Sketchy Truths, where every day I draw something based on the news. What do I do? I create. I'm a creative director. I love to design. My background is really in fashion. Before that was in electronics. I was in the military. Do art as well. I mean, I just want to. I don't care what it is. I just want to create. I
For
don't care if
sure.
it's a coffee cup, a toothpick. Throw me in, coach. I'm ready. You know.
When did you know you had that gift? Like, when was the first time you recognized that you could kind of take an idea and you could form that into a drawing or a sketch? Like, when did you first know that?
Uh, I've been drawing since I was a kid. So I can't. It was funny because somebody asked me that on Instagram the other day. I don't really remember when I started drawing. I just, one of the big things was I had two cousins. One in Aruba. She saw that I was drawing. She like had me drawing stick figures and walking through the storytelling of that. And she probably doesn't even remember that. But that's one thing that I remember. And I had another cousin by the name of Brenton. He was in England, man. He was so influential because he actually collected comic books. So that's when I started like trying to draw the Marvel way. And that was impactful for me. And that's when I really like understood like, okay, I can draw. I didn't really see like a future in it per se. It was just like, okay, this is just something that I do. And I had a good group of friends, one by the name of Rep, another guy by the name of Mice. And another guy by the name of Alan, we all used to draw together. So, it's like iron sharpens iron. So that's when I was like, okay, I got something. I don't know what it is. And then coming to VA and working with Ralph from RP55, that's when I was like, oh, I can earn a living from this, really, by not
How
only
did that
just
come
drawing.
about? How did you meet Ralph from
Man,
RP55?
this is gonna sound like a bad B flick movie, the way that this went. I lived out in VA when I was in the military at Lake Edwards in Virginia Beach, and my cousin was with me. So actually, we walked to the 7-Eleven off of Baker Road. I'm getting very VA right now.
Yeah, it's very detailed. I know exactly where that is.
Yeah, yeah, right off of Newtown Road. And Ralph was in there, and that's when he was started popping with the RP55 shirts. So I saw him, and I recognized him, but I recognized him from when he just started because I was at the same screen printer. I thought I was gonna pop off with my T-shirt brand of 72 measly T-shirts. I thought I was about to be the king of T-shirts, and he was filling up a van. So I recognized him in the 7-Eleven. And I started chatting with him. And then my cousin was like, yo, you need to hire my cousin. He could draw real ill. He could draw better than he could breathe. Yeah, he was like selling them. And Ralph was like, yeah. He goes, take my card. So I took the card, called him for 2 weeks, no answer. So I was just like, yo, later for this, whatever. It wasn't in the cards. And I don't know if you remember, there was a store in Virginia Beach, actually right off the strip called The Fly. And
No, tell me about this.
so Mike Malbin, there's a magazine called Frank 151. Him and his brother did it. His brother Steve actually started it. And anybody who's familiar with the Malbin name down in VA, very creative family. And like Steve actually has his own golf brand right now called Malbin Golf, right? And then Mike moved on to do Frank's Chop Shop. But when Mike had The Fly, that was like the only spot to really get like authentic street gear, right? It's like graffiti based. Ecko was just popping, and
Interesting.
I knew him, and this is years after. This is probably like 2 years after I bumped into Ralph. I went in there, and he was like, "Yo, these guys from R55, they wanted to try to get their stuff into the store." And I was like, man, later for them, man. Because he was also modeling for Ecko. And I was like, what's up with Ecko? And he said, well, yeah, we could go to Echo, whatever. Because I was like, I'll pay for the trip, whatever, hotel. I'll, take my little Navy bucks and let's go. And he was like, well, let's go see these guys at RB55. Come with me. I'm going to go see them now. So I was like, all right. Had my little portfolio that me and my man Alan did. We know nothing about no clothing, but we just knew we wanted to design. And we designed a whole brand. And I had it all hand drawn in a book. So I went out there, long story short, there was no order placed from Mike's store because Ralph and I was talking so much about, what I presented, and he gave me a job while I was in the military. So I was like,
What was the job? Was it art director or creative
no,
director?
no, it was lackey.
Understood. Keep going.
Yeah, so when I got there, he wanted somebody in a position to help him design, and he had worked with a bunch of young designers in the past when he had another brand called Big's World that was very local. And he was like, yo, I just can't really trust them to self-police and manage and motivate themselves. It's like, once the cat's away, the mice will play. And these kids was on the internet doing whatever, they them and their relatives are arguing about their pay. They want a percentage of the t-shirts. And he's like, when you work at McDonald's, you don't get a percentage of every fry that's sold. You get paid your salary. So I came in, they had me actually working in the warehouse part-time. And no, first I was just in the design room, period. I didn't know any computer, nothing. And I was learning the computer from this gentleman named Thad, who still works there. He's a beast artist, beast. Knows Photoshop like he actually programmed it. And then when I got out the Navy, they hired me full-time, but then they put me in the warehouse. And I was like, yo, well, hold on. I'm supposed to be designing. Like, they had me driving the truck, delivery truck.
Oh, wow.
Getting t-shirt material, because they used to make their own t-shirts back then. And these guys were doing 13 colors of a t-shirt back then.
What
And
year we talking?
This is I came on board with them, I think like 96, 97.
Oh,
97,
wow.
I got the military. So it was like I was full-time then. And we were going hard. And then I crashed the truck a couple of times, not on purpose. And they had to take me off the insurance. And I was full-time in the design room, and that was my incubator. That was my high school. That was my college for design, because I literally was learning on the cutting room floors of factories in China. So we would go to China, and we didn't know anything about anything. We would pick up a garment and be like, yo, we want to do this. How do we do this? Like, what is this called? What is this stitch called? What do you call when you do blah, blah, blah? What's this fabric? What happens if I put this with this? And the blessing was these guys let me experiment. And, through experimentation comes innovation. And through that necessity for us to make something new, and me having like this laboratory to just do whatever I came up with, y'all learned a lot. And that was probably like one of the best jobs that I've had, like working for somebody, because it was just, I was always adding to my toolkit. I was always sharpening, and I was around some very creative people. And then I went to Ecko. Like, when they had Azure denim, I wound up going to Ecko through my same friend, Mike Malbin. He, I reached out to him, and he got me an interview. And me, my friend and I, my same friend that I told you about, Alan, who we designed the first collection to show to Ralph, he actually started working with us. I got him in, and he's super talented too. He's still in the industry. And we went to high school together. So we told Ralph, hey, we got a high school, a friend's getting married. We're going to go check them out in New York. And we went for an interview at Ecko. And Ecko was like the place to be, because they were popping at the time. And upon that, man, these guys doubled our salaries and gave us signing bonuses. And we were like, felt like rappers,
How many people were working there, ballpark, when you got there?
At Ecko, man, maybe 30 to 50 people. And they had an overseas office in China. They had their own office dedicated. So to put in perspective, if we had somebody designing knits, they had a person over their counterpart directly who only dealt with your knits. You know, another person only dealt with the woven shirts. Another person only did the jeans, right? Which was very efficient as well, because you wasn't burdening one agent to do your manufacturing with all of this information. You actually was able to like dole it out, and these guys could just focus on the factories that they were targeting, which is actually great. So upon working at Ecko, that was me really going to college. And that was, you talking about learning on steroids, because you're around these great artists and a lot of people who came out of Ecko. Some of them I was blessed enough to work with. Some of them had just left before me or came afterwards, like the guys from Crooks and Castles, Dennis. He came from there. God bless the dead. Good friend of mine's Josh Prince. He came from there. He actually started Fool's Gold Records, and he did all of the creative behind it. Like we have some very talented people out there. Jim Infuso, who's right now heading up, he's a GM over at Adidas, right? He was heading up the whole Yeezy thing from its inception. Just like dope talent. My man Mike Thompson, it's like he's built with digital crayons in his fingers. He's the guy that was doing all the caricatures back in the day for Ecko. Now he's doing stuff for Marvel, for DC. He's like a crazy hired hand. He's doing digital sculpting, and he's actually like sponsored by Wacom, the tablets that a lot of designers use. He's sponsored by Procreate, not Procreate, by Painter, a painting program, and ZBrush to do like clay stuff. And he actually designed my cat toy that I did. He sculpted it for me. So it was like, the talent was amazing. The people that we came across. Yeah, that was my journey from VA coming back here. And then I wound up going back down to VA again with like this enormous war chest of knowledge from Ecko, and just being in the industry and traveling with them and seeing how they worked a lot more efficiently than RP at the time, because RP was like, we was figuring it out. We was running and gunning, we was shooting from the hip. These guys kind of like had battle strategy and had soldiers in there that actually are battle tested, and they knew the lay of the land, right? So we were able to learn, but not by executing, by them just saying, hey, this is how the game is played. And
did you interface with Marc Ecko at any point during that run, or was he in the designs, or how? Maybe talk about like what was this like the business development side of it like? Because I mean, they had incredible run. Like I feel like I just saw it everywhere back then, and that's
I was
amazing.
working
all those different talented people.
Yeah, we were working side by side with Marc. I was his first actual men's designer that he hired to allow to, full time to actually work on product. And then he stepped away, and then I was interim creative director until they hired a creative director, incredible guy by the name of Greg Ma, who's now knitwear designer over at Target. He's been over there like forever. And we worked side by side. Marc is talented. Marc knows the computer. He knows Photoshop. He knows Illustrator. I don't know if he's still able to mess with me on Illustrator. Back then, I told him, I was like, yeah, I can't see you on that Photoshop, but, when you see me on that Illustrator, baby, you look like I'm playing the piano. I know my hotkeys. But we work side by side with him. So as far as, man, I mean, he made me push harder. And it's not because he was like, yo, I need you to do better. And you just wanted to, because you was watching the boss literally design and create right in front of you and deconstruct your idea and come up with these weird themes. And their business model was just, to have fun. Like I remember one time before I worked there, they had a show in Vegas, a trade show, and they didn't go, I think because they didn't pay their bill or whatever. Ecko just bombed the Vegas Strip with stickers, and they got a fine. And I asked him about that, and he was like, "Yeah, I caught a fine, and I was on the news in Vegas during, the trade shows." He goes, and I was looking at it like, man, why would you want to risk that? And he told me you can't pay for that advertising. And that's when I was like, wow, like this guy is thinking in a whole different way. Like even when he did the magazine, and he had a gentleman by the name of Ket, who actually is one of the owners of the graffiti museum down in Miami. Sorry, I'm like plugging all these people because I love them. I love
No, this is great.
I love the journey that I've been on. But Ket, I worked with him at Azure. I worked with him at Ecko first. He's the one who came with the magazine and with the flip, like flipping the magazine, Complex, when it was in its physical form.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah. And he's amazing. Worked at Vibe. He had his own magazine called Stress that was like competing with the Source back in the day. And being able to work with that type of talent at the time. And with Marc, when he made his first video game, he was all about graffiti and tagging and stuff. The same engine that he made for the video game was utilized for the first Spider-Man game, as far as the mechanics of the gravity and how the characters moved and stuff like that. Before that Ecko game, there was no game engine like that. And people don't really know that, and it's like this guy, the first video game that he made before that they were actually testing in the room, in our design room, because we had we had a t-shirt office, design office just for people doing the tech packs. The women's had a team, and then there was this creative team in the back where they were doing all type of Flash animation, making games for Flash. And he had this game about rhinos and saving the flying rhinos. Just
because that was like the logo, one of the logos, right?
Yeah, it was just this weird shit that was in his brain. And he was just like, hey, kid in the candy store, I want to do it. I'm going to do it. It's like, whatever. Like, it's pushing the idea and putting it out there and not really worrying about the expense. And at one time, it kind of hurt him financially, but he pulled himself out, because when you're a unicorn, everybody want to ride. Everybody wants to see the unicorn. Everybody, so even if you don't do that well, and he got stuck with a lot of overhead or whatever, but he was still able to find, financial backing to pull him out of that and continue on. His brand is still around, even though he's not a part of it, but his brand is still around because it means something, So that was actually pretty dope. Then going back down there to Ralph and them, I went as creative director for Azure denim brand, which was great. That was great. Doubled my salary again. Doubling salary is always good. And I just had a different respect for the game. I was older. I understood the mechanics of selling and going on the road with the sales reps, because I wanted to. And for those that don't know, when you're dealing with clothing, you have sales reps that actually represent the brand, and they go throughout the country to sell to the smallest mom and pop store that's around the corner from you, all the way to the big chain stores, whether it's Macy's, Dillard's, Nordstrom's, Neiman Marcus. And then you also have international distributors as well. So, Ecko, I was able to go internationally to Japan and see how they sold in the stores that we were in. So you get a good representation of what your brand means in the market, and you get to see how they bought your brand in the market. But also going with the sales reps and seeing, talking to the consumer themselves, meaning the store owner, and asking them, what's popping? What's selling? What's doing good? What's a dog for you? What isn't selling? What are your best brands out there? What trends are you seeing? Because you're not going to get that knowledge, and still won't, from going on the internet. I feel like personal connection is the best connection. That's, just like word of mouth advertising. That's why Instagram is so great, because Instagram is word of mouth advertising. It's me telling you that I like this, and I'm putting it and I'm showing it to you. Of course, a lot of that is very curated right now, but it's still word of mouth. It's me putting it forward and letting you know that this is what's up. So through that experience of being a creative director, that's where I learned a lot. You know, the marketing side, and I like to talk to the different departments. I think that you need that synergy. You need design to talk to marketing. You need marketing to talk to sales. You need all of them to sit at the same table and look at this thing that we're creating and be like, I don't know if that's going to work for me because I need such and such and such. Or when can I get this deliverable from you? And some companies, they don't do that. You know, a separation of church and state, and they roll some dice, they pray, and they hope that it's going to work. And a lot of companies have fallen because of that. And I think that more companies are going to fall right now due to what's going on as well, because of some things like that and not being outfitted for the randomness that's in front of us and happening to us, you know.
Yep.
So
No, that's a fact. So you went back to RP55 after Echo, and then what did you do next? What was your next move?
my next move, after going back, that I mean, around that time, that was right before. That was 2001. So I was working there for a while, and just soaking it up, loving being in Virginia. Then I wound up starting a brand with two friends of mine, Hutch and Dre from the foundation. Um, we had a brand called Godwin, and we had a little small brand called Smut Brothers that we was doing that to finance Godwin. And then we said, why are we doing that? Let's just do Godwin. And Godwin was like one of the first brands that we had like Japanese denim, selvage denim in the streetwear space. We made a toy, limited edition toy that we gave away to the industry. Some people still have it on their damn desk, this little rabbit. So I went full steam ahead on that, moved back to New York, and we were doing good. And then the recession hit.
Is
And
this
that,
one or oh 08?
no, that's '08, you
Oh
know,
08.
and we had a financial backer, and it was tough because our jeans were really selling, but we had a full collection because, you know, those guys, they came from, you know, urban at the time of selling a lot of product to stores, and stores were just consuming it at this hellacious rate. It was like ravenous. It was a lot of big salaries happening at the time. And when things started slowing down, you know, it almost came to like an immediate halt, but people still wanted some product. Well, here you have jeans coming in from China, blah, 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 coming in from India, and they land in a warehouse at different times. Well, the financial backer, he was like, ship out the jeans, ship it, because he was trying to, you know, get bread. So what winds up happening is you cannibalize your business because your number one product that comes in, you're shipping out immediately, and there's no support now for the other stuff that's coming in as part of that collection. They're not going to say, oh, let me get the t-shirts now. You know, after I got my meat and potatoes, what do I need an appetizer for? You
I
know,
get it.
yeah. So that was a bit rough. Then I started like just freelancing, heavy. I was heavy freelancing. Had a couple of really good gigs, and then I went back into the corporate lane. I did kids for a while. You know, designing Sean John kids. That was interesting. Just dealing with a different structure, dealing with licenses, doing children's, and then I got to 10 Deep.
I
Scott's a
didn't know
friend.
you were at 10 deep.
Yeah, I was at 10 Deep. Scott's a friend. It was like during the time when 10 Deep was doing a lot of the patterns and stuff like that. Like they were always
I was
known for
thinking chain links and all in my mind when you said 10
nah,
deep.
this yeah, but they did the chain link stuff like that was way before me, but we was doing like a lot of floral stuff, and it was like a lot of hand drawn, hand painted repeat patterns. And I was creating a majority of those patterns, especially the real hyper detailed ones. I was doing those, and that was dope too, because you know streetwear was now here, and it was here in a big way. And 10 Deep had been around for over a decade in the same spot. I'll give it up to Scott, because there was times that he wanted to quit, and he kept it going, and even if he had a side gig, he just kept it going. And the brand grew. That it was on steroids. Kids just wanted it. I mean, it didn't matter what. And upon doing that, it was cool. But then another opportunity, a really great opportunity, came to work at Universal Records. And this is during, like truck fit era and all of that stuff. And working for a record company is very interesting, because this is when they were doing a lot of merch, and they have the Rolling Stones at Universal Bravado's the merchandise, like, and understanding those mechanics and the science between like how they actually figure out what merch to make, when to make it. And then they came on board with a different business model of actually just making a full brands to go in stores. That's when, they acquired Truck Fit, the Yeezy season. That whole merch launch turned into an actual brand, and it was selling in PacSun. And even after he finished the tour, they still was selling that product. Like, it was on fire. And but this is also when Baby and Wayne were beefing, and that again cannibalized the business. So it just slowly broke down. And I was working on Rich Gang, which was Baby's brand. So like Universal was doing 3 brands for them at the time. They had Truck Fit, which was like the monster. Then they had YMCMB, they had that like diffusion line. And then it was going to do upper tier brand, which was going to be Rich Gang. And it was very interesting when how they put it together and what they were doing to differentiate it. Like, they had different teams, and it was just a huge thing. But when they started beefing, it started like you could really see, it was really impacting the brands. So one brand falls, second brand falls, and then the big brand. So, and after that, what was I doing? Freelancing still, freelancing. Then I started to delve into art. I kind of got a little over it. I was over the fashion stuff. It just felt heavy. I was doing a lot of graphic work for people, and it just didn't feel fulfilling. I started tattooing a little bit with my homie, because I just needed an outlet. I needed something creative, and it wasn't even really about the bread like that, where it should be. But for an artist, sometimes it's hard to just focus on, I just need to get this money, and I'm trying to like just put out something. Sometimes you want to do something of meaning and conversation. And in doing that, I was like, yo, I want to delve into art. I was like, the tattoo thing really ain't my thing, because I don't want no dealing with bloodborne pathogens and all this craziness. But that was fun too. Yeah, but it was fun. It was fun because, I was creating, and I was creating different stuff, and I was having conversation with people. And then a friend of mine's, James Whitner, he has the store's Social Status, Ama Maniere, and APB. Yeah, I did his original logos for him, and I designed some product for him and stuff like that. He was like, yo, 25th year anniversary for the Air Max is coming out. It's funny because today's Air Max Day, right?
Yes.
So he was like, yo, I want you to do something, and I'm going to present it to Nike. Do me a painting. And I was like, well, it was the 25th year anniversary. I was like, why are we only going to do one? I was like, one thing to commemorate 25 years. I was like, let's do 25 paintings. And I was like, I titled it We Were There. And the whole idea was, here are 25 years captured in 25 paintings, which represents events through this decade and a half that the Air Max had to have been. Like, there was somebody who was on, watching Obama do his inaugural speech for the first time. Somebody had to be wearing some Air Maxes. There was somebody who was wearing Air Maxes who's watching one of these Harry Potter movies. There was somebody listening to their iPod wearing Air Max. There probably was somebody who was on the Hudson when that plane landed, for Miracle on the Hudson, either on the plane or watched the newscast. So I was like, let's capture that and let's flip the Air Max 25 times. We did a book. did a gallery showing down in the city at Ward Nassy Gallery, and it was good. We did a book release at his store, Social Status. I believe that one was I think that was in Atlanta. It was just like some really good stuff, and I just continued with the art. Didn't really know what my style was because I didn't go to school for none of this. I went to school for electronics, and everything that I've learned, clothing wise, whatever, has been from other people and through necessity of being, like I said, at the factory and asking, the factory guys, the engineers and technicians there, or with Photoshop, asking my friends and doing tutorials and grabbing a book. And I'm like, it's like really self-made journey. Same thing with art. And even right now I'm learning old school Renaissance style I got a teacher, guy by the name of Vic. He's a beast. He's like a beast. And he has
Is
me
that
paint.
like all he does is this specific type of?
Yes, man. This dude, he was a blessing. I had my studio in Jersey, and he was assisting right next to me. And I don't really talk to nobody when I'm walking. I'm on my New York. I'm like, bloop, blinders on. Don't know you. You could be the killer, right? Right? So it's like, I don't need no conversation. I'm Gucci on that. And he just sparked conversation with me. And then we started talking. I was still looking at him like, okay, where's the weapon? I may have to get you. So, and it was just a great, God puts people in your life for a reason. And we just
Yeah.
started talking, and I was showing him my stuff. And I thought I was showing him, something that was banging. Then he showed me his stuff. I was like, I felt like I was drawing with my toes with crayons.
What did he show you? Like, he just showed you something on his phone?
Yeah, he showed, we in the digital age. He pulled up his Instagram, and I was like, what? This looked like you could walk into it. And I asked him if he taught. He said yes. And we started then. And he was like, explain to me his background, man. He's from Italy. He's like, painting artists like this come a dime a dozen. And I was like, what? And he told me that his teacher, he used to restore Renaissance paintings. So he was like, I'm going to teach you everything. I'll teach you. He's like, he knows how to make his own paint. He knows how to make his own gesso. I seen the man, and this is no exaggeration. When you get a stretch canvas, it's cloth, and they put basically it's kind of like white paint on it, but it's not. It's it's kind of like a primer. I watched this man gesso a canvas, and you can see it was so smooth and glossy. It felt like glass, and you could see your reflection in it. Like if you was looking at a white piece of plastic, that's how smooth this thing was. He was wet sanding it by hand. And I was
Wow.
like, yo, what? I didn't even know that people was doing that. Like, why are you doing that for? What's the purpose? Who's appreciating that? And, his thing to me was, fine art is fine. I don't want to see no brushstrokes at all. He's like, that's the world that he comes from. Everything is old school. He paints, with the dead layer. That means like everything is all in like browns or grays, and then you glaze your color on, you put multiple layers. And I thought that he was going to have me like painting, oh, here, let's paint an egg so you can understand shape. No, we're doing still a Caravaggio. So he's one of those artists that changed the game as far as his technique, lighting. His lighting is compared to like Rembrandt as far as like his control of light and dark. And he's also known for painting a lot of real people, not just royalty. But he would paint like saints and whatever, but he would get like, homeless people off the street and use them as models, right? So sometimes some of the paintings, the people's feet are dirty. And, the clergy didn't like that. They wanted everything to be pristine and, all lovely. So we're redoing a Caravaggio right now, and I didn't think I could paint like that at all. And this dude got my brain blown, like what he's showing me and teaching me. But not only that, it's not just about the technique, it's also about romancing of the art. I showed him an artist painting that I didn't think that he necessarily would like. It looked a little rudimentary in comparison. Well-known artist, won't say the name. And he was like, yo, I like this. He goes, let me see another painting. He goes, you see this? There's poetry in this. He goes, there's a conversation that's happening through all of them, kind of like having a collection. So if I see this artist, I know it's them. And that's where the beauty is. And but also look at the subject matter. Look at what they're painting. And then it draws you into why are they painting it. And I was like, right when I thought that this dude was just bringing me down one street, here we go veering off into this next street. And I was like, man, I got a lot to learn. So that's the journey that I'm on right now. I'm still designing, still designing stuff, you know, getting into the digital space, also via you, you know, gonna do, you know, I'm gonna do a podcast as well. So Lord willing, definitely want to have you on board so I can barrage you with questions.
Yeah, appreciate it. Anytime, anytime.
Yeah,
How did the daily sketches come about? How'd you start that?
man, my Instagram sucked. You know, it was, I mean, I was on Instagram and I didn't know what to do. I was like taking pictures of flowers. You know, on my Instagram, I cleared it out, my personal one, but I still left my first post, which is a BlackBerry. Because I was like, oh, I got to get rid of this BlackBerry to get on Instagram, you know, so I got my first iPhone. And in doing that, I was just taking pictures of whatever. People doing food. I started doing food. Then I was like, why am I doing food? So I started doing the plate after I finished eating, you know, like, yo, this was a good meal. You should have been here. But then I was like, why am I doing all this? Let me do what I know, draw. So I started drawing little characters, you know, rocking like streetwear or whatever. I got a couple of likes, but then I did Rick Ross and I did Gucci Mane. I got at the time
Went
like
crazy?
crazy was 46 likes. Right? I was like, mama, I made it. You know, and I was like, okay, I got something. So I started, I was like, I'm not gonna draw every rapper or whatever. I did Ice Cube, that was okay. And then I did man, you remember that Denzel Washington movie where with the plane, he was alcoholic pilot? I drew that, and I drew a plane upside down, but the fuselage, the main body was made out of a whiskey bottle, and the two engines were made out of beer cans. So I did that, and I was like, so I just started covering the news, doing parodies of movie titles, and it just became this like thing that I was doing. And then one day I just didn't do it. People started hitting my phone like, yo, where's this little drawings at? I was like, okay, I got something. So I just continued doing it. And I had a love-hate relationship with it. Sometimes, like, I stopped doing it for like 6 months. And this was like 2013 I started doing it. I like stopped doing it because the news is heavy.
Yeah.
I put out a book with it. I wound up getting a gig with Penthouse through it, where every month they had me doing like some socio-political conversation that they would allow me to do, you know, but I drew it in a different style. And I got featured by the Huffington Post doing it. So a lot of great things came from it. And, you know, I went back to doing it. And then I changed the name because it used to be called the Daily Doodles. I changed it to the Sketchy Truths. And the reason why is like, I just think that the news is funny. And I think that, you know, you're always getting somebody's version of it. And I also thought the Daily Doodle sounded a little young and kiddie. And, you know, so I'm back on doing it every day instead of me drawing it I used to do it with a Sharpie marker, and I used to try to do it like one take. If I messed up, I crumpled it up and started it all over again, which was great for drawing because I like honed my skills a lot. But now I do it on an iPad, you know, using Procreate, and I'm doing the videos as well, so I can get more analytics, and I can watch how many views I get as well as the likes. That's why I do the video really. And you know, from that, just a couple of days ago, you know, the D Nice thing happened, which was great. You know, him reposting, you know, what I did. I'm just covering the news. And I had a lot of people that know him, and they were like trying to push, they were like sending it to him or whatever. I know him as well. You know, we were supposed to work on a show together. Because he's also a photographer. You know, yeah, actually a really good photographer. And his subject matter is like real stuff. He he photographs a lot of homeless because he was homeless at the time. KRS One was homeless at the time, so he covers that. You know, real cool, down to earth dude. And I was able to get, he reposted it, and it was like that was amazing. Getting reposted, but also I think that what he did was amazing. He changed the business model for social media right now. Everybody's going live right now. It's a whole different beast, and I think that pay-per-view is going to change right now. I think we're going to have more micro conversations that are going to happen. I think that people are reestablishing themselves right now as we're in this like incubated state. Well, I think that smart people are. You're sharpening, you're coming up with new ideas, you're trying to figure out how I can reach you without being in front of you, right? Because we're able to run business from our home out of necessity, not because we want it. And I think that some people are going to continue to do that. And he showed you, a parallel for that straight from his kitchen. Then he wound up hosting something with Michelle Obama. Like,
Yeah, I
come
saw
on.
that.
Yeah. He had like black royalty in there. I mean, you named the person, they was there. Come on. And then you, not just black royalty, you just had power. Like, there have been people who have had more views than him in a room. Like, a friend of mine told me Steve Aoki had 500K. But it's also the caliber of people that was in the room, that power that was in the room. Like, you got Zuckerberg. Come on.
Yeah, I saw
Come on. You got the dude who got the keys. He got the keys to everybody's crib. He got the
yeah.
keys to everybody's phone. You got Zuck. So I thought that was very powerful. And it'll be very interesting to see, what's going to happen after that. I think things like this are going to have more power because of that. I think that live conversations are getting more power because people don't have but so much to do. It's only so much Netflix that you're going to consume, and we are a content consuming world right now. Excuse me. So that was a beautiful thing, being attached to that. I'm still getting followers from it. I feel very blessed. I'm thinking about my next steps with that, to get more ownership and not just tell the news, but to tell another portion of my story through the sketchy truths as well. And I cleared out my other Instagram just to be cleaner, and curate a little bit better. I wish that I probably would have had both of them at the same time, just in one. That would have been the smarter thing. But at the time that I was doing it, it was looking very muddy. I was all over the place. It didn't make sense. So,
Hmm.
and I'm happy where it's at now. The Sketchy Truths is very clean, very uniform. You know what the story is. And I think that's important from branding perspective. And with my Pel NYC, I'm starting to curate that too, to show the things that I do outside of just drawing the news, you know.
And no, that's great. Great insights. I was going to ask you what were some things that maybe you've picked up, or skills you've picked up, something you're doing differently now that we're all working from home, and we're quarantined. What's like maybe one or two things that maybe you're doing that from a business perspective is getting you in front of more people, or allowing you to be more creative and you can make more stuff, on a daily basis? Do you have anything like that?
I'm pretty used to working from home, right? So this is kind of old hat for me. I'm not like going stir crazy, you know, or suffering from Stockholm syndrome. But some of the things that I am doing is being more cognizant of my means to communicate to my audience. Like, I've had
Mm,
Instagram for a minute, but it's now during quarantine, I took down everything and I started really thinking about how I'm going to recalibrate this thing. Right? It's like, what are my next steps? It's like, how do I load my gun and make sure that I have hollow tips in it? I don't have like BBs, you know, or I'm just shooting randomly. So it's also about, I think it's about strategizing, right? Because a lot of us, one of my friends, he told me, goes, yo, I don't have like certain files that I need because they're still at work. Well, you're gonna have to innovate. So I think it's really that. It's being put into a situation, and this is the math problem. I have to figure it out. It's a journey. How do I get from here to there? So it's like, I think that's my main thing is just trying to think outside the box with the tools that I have. You know, an analogy that I like to use is, if you got to screw something in, you got a screwdriver yesterday, you don't know where it is. Are you going to wait to go to Home Depot tomorrow, or are you going to use that butter knife that you just finished eating with? I'm going to use the butter knife. And I think that's where we're at right now. You better use that butter knife, and you better figure it out. Like D Nice figured it out. A lot of people are figuring out. A lot of people are working on their Instagram campaigns. They're doing, they're running their ads for their product. They're trying to figure out how they can ship, how they can get direct to their consumer even harder, right? I think that's where it's at. like
Love that.
what are you doing? I am now turning
Yeah.
the interview on you.
Yeah, so for us, our business has always been somewhat diversified. We have e-commerce, brick and mortar, pop-up, and then sort of B2B enterprise level sales. So, we're still working a lot with our enterprise level clients, our corporate customers. Then we're also we're closing the brick and mortar pop-up store. So, that energy, that focus kind of shifted to more digital capabilities. So at hamiltonperkins.com, we have a new website up. We are working on our Instagram and working
Yeah,
on our communication and just building our brand in a time when, we realize it's tough to kind of, right now there's a lot of things happening. So it's hard for us to necessarily, we don't want to be like pushy, we just want to make sure that we're there and we're kind of responding to customers. But we are still shipping. You'll see in the back there.
yeah.
I brought
Oh, I
my,
see it. Yeah,
it's
yeah,
bringing it home, and it's really it's getting into chats like this on a Zoom call. Should have I should have been doing this type of thing a while ago. So it has kind of forced me, I know personally, to just use more of use that butter knife.
yeah,
If there's something that I can do today, I'm going to do it. So,
yeah.
fortunately, we've been kind of we've been blessed to kind of continue, still being there. So, but this is exactly what I was hoping for. I appreciate this time
Did
and just sharing the pearls of wisdom.
Yeah, one other question for you though. So as far as you closing the store, is it because of what happened, or that was something that was scheduled?
It's because of what happened.
Gotcha.
We looked at a lot of the kind of larger retailers like Apple, and just kind of we knew that the safety of customers, safety of our staff, safety of just just the actual location that we were in, it made sense that we would kind of stop the spread, flatten the curve. I mean, if you look overseas, I mean, when certain areas learned about, the outbreak, they quarantine, they stop, they
Yeah,
flatten that curve, and it just seems like it's a practical step to, prevent, contamination. So, yeah, that's something that we did. It wasn't necessarily like we already had it scheduled. We were
yeah,
still, we were really ready and looking forward to, nice weather. I mean, it's a nice day here in Virginia today.
yeah,
Events, we had stuff lined up just about definitely every weekend. Every weekend we had something coming up. We had stuff during the week. We were just kind of getting at the tail end of those really cold events. I mean, I had done
yeah,
a couple races, a couple like, I don't know, I went to a gym, just kind of showing up with a table. But, it's just cold, so it's kind of hard. But, now we've had time to, like I say, go back and work on that website,
yeah. I
just
think that.
do a lot of things in the store. Like, I mean, we never closed technically, I think that's
Yeah.
kind of one of the things that when you're small and lean, it's like, you don't,
Yes.
I mean, for me, like to actually sit there and just really study the inventory levels that we have and really, plan around distributing it and really kind of finding what ways can we make use of space that maybe we, because we have a lot of space, literally like off of our selling floor that we're not even technically
Utilizing.
using.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, just stuff like that. Been fortunate to be able to spend some time working on.
Well, I know that saving revenue from, the overhead of the brick and mortar, now you can possibly transfer that into doing, more ads. You can still do pop-ups, like the stuff that you still be able to do those events. And I think that is, going into your wheelhouse, your toolkit, and pulling out that butter knife and being like, okay, like now the butter knife got me a drill,
That's right.
Yeah, I think that's where people really need to start thinking. And I think that when we come out of this, just like the recession that we had before, and hopefully, God willing, we don't go into one right now. It's tough times for a lot of people. I think that the dog is gonna, wag its tail, and it's gonna get rid of a bunch of fleas. There's gonna be companies that are not built to continue, unfortunately, but out of the ashes, the phoenix is gonna rise again, and it's gonna be
100%.
it's gonna be some great businesses. It's gonna be some great communication, some great collaboration. There's a kid somewhere out there that's coming up with some idea from what's going on right now, and he's gonna birth some type of technology that's going to even perpetuate these conversations even further. But then there's going to be like a kid who's doing a clothing brand, or a clothing brand that already exists, that they're going to think outside the box, or they're going to bring people around to various pop-ups, So I think it's a great time. It just depends on your perspective and how you want to look at it.
100%.
Yeah.
This is fantastic. I appreciate you for sitting down. Where can the listeners follow you, and where can they connect with you on your platform?
The best thing is at Pel NYC on Instagram, and the Sketchy Truths, if you want to, check out the news and stuff like that. I'm on both of them, daily, checking my analytics and stuff like that, and I get back to people like ASAP. I believe communication is very important, and I hold that at a high regard. So both of those, Instagram, best place. You don't get me on one, get me on the other. I'm there.
Perfect. Did we cover everything? Did I miss anything that you want to share? Anything you want to plug? Any pieces you're working on? Any shout outs?
Nah, I want people to focus on their focus, and please enjoy life, nurturing their creativity. I think that that's it. Like, believe in your dream, man. Believe in your dream, hyper focus on it like a laser, and you'll get there. That's it. It's not necessarily about me, it's about us. So yeah, that's it.
That's a great way to end it. I'm going to make sure this thing saves, and I'll give you a call right back.
All right, cool.